about you, what's special about you. Just one more minute. This is just to kind of get our juices flowing and get our head in the right space. Does anybody feel like sharing one of the unique things about themselves? Michelle's like, no. I saw that. Just one unique thing.
All right, y'all got to be better than this. My unique thing, I can wiggle each ear independently.
Awesome.
I don't have that. I know how to bring people together.
Nice. Nice. Those are both awesome, unique things. I love it. Good. Okay, cool. So why am I having you do this or think about this? It's because I want to get you into the mindset of your unique talent and your unique, what you're bringing to the table. Because ultimately this document, right, is supposed to be a reflection of like what you've done and who you are. So again, like I said, just remember CVs and resumes can bring up imposter syndrome and other stuff like that, but always remember that it's a living document. So if you're starting in your career, it's not going to look like what your advisor or your boss, what their CVs look like, okay? It takes a long time to get there. So just keep that in mind. And also, this is a living document. And so like what Chris said at the beginning, or at the end of her presentation, that basically you have a folder where you keep all this. I recommend that each semester or even quarterly, you update your CV, because little things add up, and you will see, because I bet many of you haven't updated your CV in a while, which is why you're here. And as we go through this, it's really hard to remember all the things you've done, because all of you are really super accomplished, extremely smart women. So I know you've done a lot. And so it's good to have this document and just use it as every semester you're celebrating yourself by updating this and looking at it and saying, okay, I've accomplished something else. I'm going to put that on my CV, right? Okay. So second thing to think about is, who is the CV or the resume for? So with this workshop today, I want you to write down who the intended audience is, and for a moment, put yourself in their shoes. So what do you think they're expecting for the job? Is there a job ad that you that can give you some clues? So, you know, have you seen the job ad? Do you know what they're looking for? If you were them, what would you like them to know about you? In your field, what is the expectation? So different fields have different expectations for either a CV or a resume, or the types of information that they need. So let's just take 2 minutes, and I'd really like you to think about this. Who is your intended audience? You can use these questions as prompts, and it can be a short answer, but think about this for a second, because this is going to help you then with building or restructuring your resume. So just a few more seconds. Okay. So again, why we're doing this is so that you can kind of, you're making this document for someone else, not for yourself. I mean, you are making it for yourself, but like, you're not the one interviewing yourself for the job, right? So it's good to like think about, what do they want? What do they expect? And so, for example, in an academic job, so for a academic position or a postdoc, and I'll show you after, there's a formatting that's sort of expected in the sense that they want to know what publications you have and what money you have, right? And then teaching, social justice, everything else kind of comes after, but those two things they want to know first, right? So that's what I mean by kind of knowing what they're expecting, having a sense of what they're looking for. Are there any questions about that? Okay, cool. Okay, now this is a doozy. So I want you to now, regardless of even if you have a CV already made, but I'd like you to write down all that you have accomplished that you can remember in the last 5 years. Now, if you already have your CV, great, because you probably already have a lot of it on there. If that's the case, then what I want you to think about are maybe some of the more obscure things. So there's things that often don't don't go on to a CV or a resume, and maybe they should. So I'll give an example. I did this workshop for my laboratory years ago, and there was a woman in my lab who was apparently a state champion in swimming, and she didn't put that on her resume. And I was like, well, why? And she was like, well, it's not academic. And I was like, that distinguishes you. Not many people can say that they have won state in anything. So you're going to put that on your resume, right? So things like that maybe you do something extracurricular, but like you really, another example is I won a belly dancing Middle Eastern dance contest I was the best belly dancer in Boston in 2000. Oh, I'm not even going to tell you. It'll show you how old I am. But anyway, so I put that on there as like under hobbies when I was a grad student. Now I don't have that on here now, but like as a grad student, because that was part of who I was at the time. And that was part of what distinguished me. So that's what I mean about what's unique about you, is that you can throw in those things that maybe aren't just like dry academics that will distinguish you. But, like if you race and you won a race or something, or placed in something, or so I just have a list here of random things that I could think of off the top of my head, but it is not limited to this. So for right now, what I want you to do is just write down any accomplishment. Even if you don't end up putting it on your CV, just write it down, okay? And then what we can do is we'll have this list, and then we can pick and choose from it if there are things that we want to put on our CV or not, okay? So this, we are going to take like a good 10 minutes, because I really want you to think about this. So you think a little bit outside the box. I know you all have like a billion side hustles and like so much other stuff going on. So let's get that all out on paper, and then we'll come back and talk about it. So 5 minutes or 10 minutes, okay? About 5 more minutes. Okay, so let's talk about that for a sec. How did it go? Were there anything surprising or interesting that came out that anyone would like to share?
I realized that I haven't had like a social hobby in several years because of the pandemic.
So
Oh, maybe I'm boring as well, but like I'll blame it on the pandemic.
So that's why I said within the last 5 years. But yes, it does kind of make you realize maybe there's some areas that you'd like to develop more. Anyone else? Yeah.
I'm selling myself short. I mean, there are some things that I don't know if this can be included on my CV, but then there are others like in the nonprofit sector, which I work in. I'm like, wait a minute, you've done multiple projects under that and you have ran national campaigns. Like, what in the world? So I think it's just things that we forget we do, but I think it's when you're so busy, that reflection piece is very clutch. And we write in our journals. That's personal reflection. I don't really think about my professional reflection.
Right. So that's why we do this. And just to reflect on that, and I think you said that really well, Erica, that we don't often, there's a lot of work we do and actually accomplishments that we have that we just are like, okay, on to the next thing, because we're like so busy, right? And so this is that moment to stop and like, let's let's acknowledge it, even just for ourselves. but also maybe it does have a place on your CV somewhere, right? So that other people can acknowledge it as well. Anyone else have any insights or things that they'd like to share? Yeah, Ashley.
So I realized that I took a look at my CV that I didn't mention anything about the other organizations that I was in. I only stuck to like science ones. And then I realized that like I also participate in a woke space. I also was a part of the Global Sibling Program for like 2 years and was like, oh, got an award for that. Like I was just like, I just really stumbled my own stuff.
Yeah, so this is why this is so critical.
Thank you for letting me know that I totally spaced out on those things.
Yeah. So one, congratulations. That's awesome. And two, yes, this is why we do this. Because like you said, we're busy. We got a lot going on. And sometimes we also narrow in a bit too much. So for a resume, because it's usually 1 page, 2 pages max, you want to be efficient, you know, the highlights. But for a CV, my CV is up to 20 pages at this point. So, I mean, some CVs, I mean, they can be really long if they have no page limit. So, so that's why it's like, you don't want to pad it by any means, but these things that you all are bringing up as like projects that you've run, certifications that you've had, awards that you've had, you know, different clubs you've been involved with and had a leadership role, especially in, those things need to be on there. And then as you get more senior into your position and get maybe more things that fill in more of a typical, like if you are in an academic job, more of the typical academic expectations, and maybe some of that will fall out eventually, right? And you don't need to include it, but maybe not. So cool. Any other reflections before we go into the next step?
Just to add on to what was said, I realized that like, even though I put that like I'm a part of some of these organizations, I haven't put like specific roles or events that I've done. So that's something that I need to incorporate. And also, like Maya said, probably trying to find like an extracurricular activity that's like outside of academic to just, you know, have on my resume, as well as something I can enjoy as well.
Yeah, something for yourself. So,
Yeah.
I mean, these are important. I mean, this is for yourself, right? But like, it's also work in the bin of work. It's like work, but maybe passion work. So it kind of can mix into many areas, but having things that also are, you know, just for fun are important. So I'm glad that's a really actually surprising insight that came out of this. And so thank you, Maya, for bringing that up. And I'm glad you all are having kind of these reflective moments. Cool. Awesome. So it sounds like for some of you, this was really helpful. If it wasn't helpful for you, a few things that I just want to push you on. One, were you judging yourself? Because sometimes when we're doing these things, we're like, oh, I shouldn't write that down. That's not really, oh, I don't want to do it, you know? And so you kind of already talk yourself out of a lot of things. So I would really challenge you to just try this again and not judge. Nobody's judging. No one even needs to see this. So, okay. And then two, if there isn't anything else that you're doing, that's okay also. So I just want to acknowledge that as well. We're all doing the best we can, right? Some of us overfunction, some of us underfunction, some of us are just in the middle somewhere, you know, and that's fine. Okay. So this isn't a judgment space. This isn't, you know, this isn't what it's about. Okay. Cool. Okay. So next. So now we're going to actually workshop. So what I want to do is we have 6 of you. Perfect. So I think what we could do is actually go into 2 groups. And so what I'm going to do is, or Chris, did you want to workshop yours too? No? Okay.
Sorry, I mean, I can if we have
No,
the
no, no,
numbers
no,
are off, but I don't have to at all.
Okay.
Because I just
Okay.
did mine.
Okay, perfect then. So, so we'll put 2 groups. And so what I want you to do is whoever's in your group, you're going to go to the Google folder, download their CV or resume. And I want you to take 5 to 10 minutes to actually mark it up. So if it, make comments on it and giving constructive feedback. So by constructive, I mean, if you say, I don't like something, say why, and suggest something different, right? So that you can help improve it. And then also focusing on the areas that maybe weren't clear to you. So act as though you are someone hiring. And so if you're looking at their CV, what would be like, I don't understand this isn't clear, or maybe it's really good. And so also, if there are things you like, make sure to say that as well, right? Like, this is really great how you put this. I like this, I like that, whatever. Then what you're going to do is upload, once you've done that, you'll upload your comments, the commented or the annotated CV to, there's a breakout folder. So it'll be breakout room 1 and 2. So just put it in there. And then what I want you to do is take about 5 minutes after everybody's done it to discuss each one. So, if I were in the group with Erica, I would say, we'd all take turns, me and Arona and Miranda would take turns talking about Erica's CV and what we liked or what we think could be improved. And then we'd go to Arona and do hers, and then Miranda, like that. And so just be conscious of the time. We have until 8:30. So, but I'd like to get back about 10 minutes before 8:30 or so that we can kind of come together and talk. And then the last thing, and this, I think, is the beauty of this, is that you all will get to see all these different versions of CVs, some that you might like and some that you don't like. And that's great data to have, so you know what to do. And we've shared a bunch of examples, including our own. And I just ask that you don't share these with other people, right? So just keep them, you all can have them for yourself, but don't share it with a lot of other people, unless you're hiring. Anyway,